Welcome to the Invincible CEO Wish Fulfilled Playground. I love the connection that we have here because we've been journeying together, exploring questions, diving deep into what it truly means to know yourself and manifest a life of your dreams. My name is Dede Powernak and I am the Invincible CEO, and I'm here to help you make clear, concise, certain choices in the now moment so that you know what you've chosen. And once you know what you've chosen, you can persist in that beautiful wish fulfilled until your choice, your assumption hardens into fact. Coaching is now available. Coaching session, group programs, digital courses, personalized 3-month programs from mindset to manifestation, including nutrition. Check the description box below for all of the links. I look forward to working with you. So it's been a pleasure to do this with you. And so through this journey, we've been realizing that the answers that you are seeking can't be handed to you, can't be found in a video, because they're already within you. These answers aren't born from thoughts or echoes or opinions. And I know you'll stop looking outside of you and start turning inward as the true insight, the kind that transforms everything, can only be found from your own direct experience. So the most important question is, have you learned that your mind constantly spins stories, and these stories aren't reality or truth? Your mind will never truly grasp what this experience really is. And so it literally makes it up as it goes along. It creates this narrative. And because it may feel and seem like this narrative is so real, it appears sometimes that you're trapped in your story. So how do you know your mind is lying? Because it's talking, it's creating narrative, it's offering echoes that stray far from your direct experience right here and now. All thought or echoes are BS. The worst stories are BS, but so are the best stories. And when we even that playing field, that all stories, all thoughts, all echoes are BS, then we can then begin to choose clear and concisely with certainty which BS we want to experience next. And of course, we're going to leave behind all those unwanted stories and realities and choose those that will make our heart sing. Because the mind often tells stories based on what it hears from others, amplifying or distorting them over time. Because the big question to ask yourself is, when the mind offers an echo or a story or a thought, is it actually happening right now? Because as I share this with you today, by the time the mind is telling you a story, the actual experience that it's talking about is over. You're already out of the direct experience. Think about the difference between riding a roller coaster and having the experience of it in the now moment, and then getting off the roller coaster and sharing what you believe you experienced with a friend that's waiting for you after it's over. The two can't even begin to compare. And even though you would say that when you're telling your friend about your experience, it is what you believe is true, the words are actual labels. You can't transfer that experience of what you actually felt in the now moment. And you begin to understand how your mind is trying to capture what you believe happened, but what you're telling the story of and what actually happened are always two different things, no matter how similar they are. And your mind will also create stories that haven't happened, but because when it creates the stories of what has and it seems real, when it starts to create stories of what hasn't happened, it will just seem as real. And that's how you as the consciousness can get trapped in its web. So Consider this example. As you're listening to this, your mind might be saying, I'm watching a video of Dede talking that feels real and true, doesn't it? Isn't that what's happening right now? You're watching a video, you're hearing Dede's voice say words, but is this reality? The mind creates its own story, but that doesn't make it the truth. Because the moment that you reflect on what's happening, it takes you out of what's happening, even though what's happening is always happening. So you start to split your awareness between the unneeded, unwanted thoughts. And that's why we're going to say, leave the thoughts alone, leave the mind alone, and stay in your direct experience. Because what's happening directly in your experience is something else entirely. And this is why I often say that nothing is happening other than what's happening, and it's very, very boring. Highlighting the mind's descriptions rarely capture the true reality of things. So as a bell is ringing, if there was a ringing noise that you consider a bell, you don't have to tell yourself, oh, there's a bell ringing. Because saying there's a bell ringing and the bell ringing are two different things. And when you start to realize that all thought or words are redundant, they're not needed, you start to free yourself. Thoughts and echoes can't genuinely experience anything. You're not experiencing the thought, you're experiencing the experience. Thoughts and echoes only interpret. So how could the mind ever truly understand what's real? Because that part of you doesn't have the experience. And if there's thoughts and words, you're in a past or a future, because the now is the story and the now doesn't need words. Test it for yourself through your own experience. Don't even accept what I share as your truth, but allow the words to bring you to an experience where you can experience this for yourself. Your mission is to uncover your own truth. So let me take you into another direct experience right now. I want you to snap your fingers repeatedly. Can a thought feel that sensation? Even if you answer yes, know that the sensation can be experienced without the thoughts, right? We would call it what? Friction. And the mind doesn't feel it. The consciousness feels it. The awareness is aware that the consciousness is feeling it. The mind simply creates a narrative around it, like I'm snapping my fingers and it's making a noise. Can you see how that's a story? So let's do it one more time. As you're snapping the fingers, you didn't have to say to me, oh, Dede, I'm snapping my fingers. You didn't have to tell yourself that. And if there was anyone else in the room with you, they would know, even if they didn't know what to call it, they would know you were doing something, making a noise. Can you see how this is a story? No matter what the mind labels, it's not the direct experience itself. Your mind is only talking about a version of events, not the reality of the experience, and makes it very indirect. There's no such thing as your hand, your fingers, no labels or concepts at all. Reality as it is doesn't try to label or categorize. That's the mind's job. So realizing what's the mind's job and what reality is, this is crucial because we often fall into the trap of thinking we can use the mind to reach some higher truth or enlightenment, but you can't. If you're in thought, you're not in enlightenment. Enlightenment is the realization and the awareness of the now moment that the mind is not needed. No book, video, seminar, training can ever make that possible. The mind can never truly experience true reality because it's never in the now moment. A thought, even though it feels like it appears in the now moment, it's already into a new now moment, but the thought doesn't take you into the new now moment where you're hearing the noise of the thoughts being spoken, whether it's within you or outside. It's referring back to something that's already happened. Your mind is always weaving stories. So if you're trying to find knowledge or understanding of hopes of awakening, you're off course. And when it comes to manifestation, the more that you're in the now moment manifesting, because that's all you're ever doing without even thinking about it, you're manifesting what's happening in the now moments. You're not doing it from a version of you that needs something, that needs to get something, that needs to fix something. You step out of the character and into the now moment, and that's where anything and everything can always appear. So that's why when we're manifesting something, we're not manifesting money to pay a bill. We're not manifesting money to go on a trip. We're manifesting money for money to appear in the now moment. And then you can take what appears and do whatever you want. I mean, take a moment and look around your room that you're in right now. Whatever's already here, you can go and play with. It's already here. You've already manifested it. It's what your mind expects you to expect to be here. So when we're manifesting and there's an expectation, not because we need it, that's a whole different type of expectation, but just consider your room one big toy box and all the props that are here are for you to play with. Manifestation gets a lot simpler and easier because all we're expecting is for it to appear in the same way you have the expectation of whatever's already in the room with you to already be there. If you would like to learn more about the Law of Assumption, Neville Goddard's teachings, please join us on November 16th and 17th for our 2-day masterclass, How to Create Powerful Foundational Assumptions to Build Foundation to Anchor in Your Manifestations. Register now. Pursuing knowledge is a mental endeavor, and awakening doesn't happen through the mind. So why does it feel like whatever the mind is saying is happening is actually happening? Well, that's because the mind stories tries to make sense of what just happened. But there's a big difference between the mind's version of reality and the actual reality. By the time your mind is talking about it, the experience has been over for seconds. Think of when you sneezed. Your mind doesn't say, I'm sneezing while you're sneezing. That's obvious. But it can say it after the fact, or even if you can feel that sneeze coming on, it can even say it before. But while you're actually doing it, it doesn't need to say it because it's not the part of you doing the sneezing. Reality itself is simple and seamless. While the mind creates a complex web of judgments and labels and separation, leading us to think in terms of duality, good, bad, up, down, in, out, a subject and an object. So look around again, and every object in the room around you has a name. There's a window, there's a lamp, there's a bed, there's a floor. But they exist, if you look at them again, they exist without you naming them. It's just what's happening. It's just what's there. In a state, there is just what is, and no separation between objects or names. Reality is a blank canvas. All that's happening is a story is being projected onto what already is here. It has no inherent value or no meaning until you start placing labels and stories upon it. And what we're asking you to do is to just be with the reality as it is without a story, and you get closer and closer to the truth of not only what reality is, but who you are. We've said that you've never thought a thought in your whole entire life, that you are the awareness that is aware that there's echoes and thoughts coming in, and you can choose to dance with whichever ones or none of them if you don't want. But even when it's quiet, something remains. It's not the you that your mind defines you as. It's not personal at all. It's not the personhood. What remains when the mind is quiet is called consciousness or awareness. So if you're hearing my voice right now and you know me as Dede, some people may still know me as Denise. These are just labels that the mind assigned to my body. And I have to accept that I'm Dede. And when I accept that I'm Dede, there comes a story. But the story that I have of Dede, and the story that you have of Dede, and the story that 10 other people would have of Dede, there would be some similarities, but it's the story that each individual mind is making up of the concept or the label of Dede. I'm not even my story of Dede, and I can change it at any moment. When we think of ourselves, they usually don't exist beyond the thought of the label. So if Dede is a thought or Denise is a thought, it feels like this is you. But if Dede is a thought, then me as Dede having thoughts, it's like a thought is receiving a thought of thoughts. So it's thoughts thinking thoughts. And thoughts aren't reality. Like that's the big aha moment, that we're in this world of concepts. Dede is a thought concept. Plato called it an idea form. And if we think of the thought concept of Dede as a picture that has to have life breathed into her, has to be animated, and we think that the body is Dede, but in reality, as I sit around and record this video and look around the room, I'm all of it. It's all my consciousness, but not my being Dede, but consciousness itself. So if Dede is a thought, how can Dede feel anything? The experiencer isn't the mind at all. It's consciousness. It's experience itself that's aware of these words. This is really what it means to wake up. And this is why it may seem like manifestations are hit or miss. Because when you're trying to manifest within a story, and a story that wasn't serving you, that's why it may seem like it takes so long for something to show up, because the consciousness, really all the consciousness is ever doing is looking for a moment in the now that you stop being aware of the old story, and it can place the new prop so that you can experience it. But the moment that the prop shows up, you have to remember how you want it to be versus how it might have been. So this consciousness that's experienced itself is truly what we are, not the separate identity, but the experience. So right now you're having an experience, but it's not the person you think you are. It's experience itself that's aware of these words, waking up to itself. It's not a person talking and it's not a person listening. It's consciousness itself, both speaking and hearing. Consciousness is everything. It's what you truly are. Don't try to identify with it because you're already it, because that identity is another mental construct. What you are is beyond the identity. You're not a separate individual. You are the experience itself. So when the personal programmed you starts to disappear, what remains is the truth, consciousness, source, God, universe, whatever you want to call it. It's life itself. You are life itself. But for this to happen, you need to step out of the mind. The mind will never understand reality because it can't experience it. It only knows how to tell stories. The narrator isn't the experiencer because the experience doesn't have to narrate their experience. You're directly experiencing it. So this is why you can't rely on the mind to find peace or happiness or enlightenment. This is also why you can't rely on others either, because it's just their mind stories now becoming yours. That's why I say don't accept my truth until you give yourself the experience of it. Your mind imagines what those things might feel like and then leads you on a search for the imagined experience instead of stepping out of the mind and letting the experience itself through what you consider you to be. The mind is simply incapable of grasping true reality. You have to get out of your mind or lose your mind. Forget about being mindful and mindfulness. Go mindless. Go mindless. You have to learn to just be. There's no point in endlessly seeking knowledge or another video or looking to the opinions from guides or teachers if all you're doing is using the mind to conceptualize their ideas. This is how the mind traps you in a concept versus what is actually happening, the direct experience. Being more present in the now, you slow things down because all that's ever happening in the whole entire universe is what you're aware of. There's nothing outside of your direct experience. Pour more awareness into the presence of being and what you're actually doing, with no other outcome other than the pure joy of the experience of it. When you stay in the pure joy of the experience of the now expands and it gets bigger and bigger, and more props start to show up. In the end, all of this is just my opinion, but my direct experience. And that's why I love to bring you into a direct experience, because it's not about watching another video. Think about video watching is the experience. You're having the experience of video watching. But if you want the experience of video watching to be a better manifester, now you're putting a condition on the video watching. And the video watching doesn't give you the results of being a better manifester. It gives you the result of being a better video watcher. And that's why it seems like you're in this endless cycle of watching videos. Go into the direct experience. This is what we do when we work together one-on-one, whether it's a one-off session or we have a whole 3-month program. It's 3 months of direct experience together. No outside source can truly give you the answers you're looking for. They're already within you. And only by direct experience will you find them. So, my dear invincible friends, my wonderful manifesting friends, the truth isn't out there, it's within you. Trust this. Try to experience reality without the mind's labels. Stay present and connect with your senses. They are the gateway to direct experience. This shift in perspective could change everything if only you apply and commit to it. And I'm going to link at the end of this video the deep dive into the Now series. It's 30 videos we did back in March on this channel that takes you into direct experiences using your breath, using food, using awareness, using 0 point. 0 point is the experience of letting everything go. And there's lots of videos on this channel about 0 point. Thank you for likes, subscribing, sharing. From the bottom of my heart, I want to see you win big, win all the time. Until we speak again, happy manifesting and enjoy.